For manifestly you've long been aware of what you mean when you use the expression being. We, however, who think we understand it, have now become perplexed. So that's that opening quotation that opens up Heidegger, the Heidegger's Being and Time, that I promised I would finally come to today. And it's a citation from Plato's Sophist. Heidegger wrote Being and Time, or published Being and Time in 1947, wrote it in the mid-20s. And while he was writing it, he was a professor at the University of Marburg, which is in central Germany. He gave while he was there, a lecture on the Sophist series. And so it was in the back of his head when he was writing this. So what is Plato's Sophist, and why does Heidegger open Being and Time with it? We're going to see that it's very closely related to what he's going to end this epigraph with, which is really very straightforwardly the thesis of the book, because it does straightforwardly have a thesis. Now, how important that thesis is to understanding everything that's going on in the book, well, I mean, that's a different question that we'll get into. But it's certainly the case that the Sophist is where Heidegger is going to sort of pitch what Being and Time is about. So here's my 90-second introduction to the Sophist. Also, I should say one other thing really quickly. You know, I mentioned last time that I did lie, and I had lied, right? And I mentioned that as Plato says, poets lie. That doesn't mean only poets lie. I do have to confess that I worry sometimes that one of my issues vis-a-vis other philosophers is that I'm a little bit too much hashtag team poet. Now, that's different than actually being a poet, right? Being a philosopher who's hashtag team poet probably means, Plato actually already told us this, probably means being a sophist. I'm a little worried that I might be one of those. So what does it mean to be a sophist? Well, that's what the dialogue, the Sophist, is about. And in it, the Eleatic stranger, who's the main narrator, or the main interlocutor in the dialogue, tells us that it means to be somebody who says what is not. Now, the weird thing there, and this is actually what most of the dialogue concerns, is it's going to turn out very quickly that sounds like a question about a definition of a person, but it becomes the core for Plato, at least in his later philosophy, ontological problem, which is how would it be possible to say what is not if, following Parmenides, all there is what is. So very quickly, the Sophist becomes a dialogue about ontology and about how what enables there to be both truth, right, a world of truth, but also there to be things that are false, right, to be only appearances. These are going to be very important ideas as we get into Being and Time. Heidegger's working on them as he's writing Being and Time. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, although back to being hashtag team poets, I've never met a rabbit hole I didn't want to go down. So it's going to be very hard for me not to go down them all. Any rate, so this is the citation here. This is also, by the way, why I brought up our friend Heracles in my last video. Right after the epigraph, Heidegger will reference a point close in the Sophist where Plato will call, or where this Eleatic stranger will call what he's up to, what this question about how can we say what is not when all there is what is, the gigomantia peri tes ousias, the gigantomachy, this battle between giants that I talked about from mythology last time, but about being, or about what is, and about what being means. Those are not all the same thing, as we're going to talk about in the next few videos. So in our next video, we'll talk about what Plato thinks that gigantomachia is and what Heidegger is going to claim that gigantomachia is. And we're going to find out why it was a bad idea to start on a journey with somebody who's admitting up front that he's far too friendly to poets.